in order to understand what happens in the brain as we become addicted, I like to use this extended metaphor of a pleasure-pain balance. Imagine that you have a teeter-totter or seesaw in that reward circuit in our brains. And that represents how we process pleasure and pain. Because one of the very interesting findings to me of the last 50 to 75 years of neuroscience is that pleasure and pain are co-located. So the same parts of the brain
amazing.
it is really interesting, right?
It is,
that we're processing pleasure and pain in the same way. And in many ways, if you're going to kind of really capture this idea of homeostasis, this metaphor of a balance, when we experience pleasure, the balance tips one way. When we experience pain, it tips in the opposite direction. And there are certain rules governing this balance. And the first and most important rule is that the balance wants to remain level to the ground, or what neuroscientists call homeostasis. In fact, one of the main driving forces for all living organisms is to maintain and restore homeostasis, so that with any deviation from neutrality, our brains will work very hard to bring that balance back to a level position. So for example, I read a romance novel, eat a piece of chocolate, watch a good movie, that releases dopamine, our reward neurotransmitter, in a dedicated circuit of the brain called the reward pathway. My balance tilts to the side of pleasure. But no sooner has that happened than these neuroadaptation gremlins hop on the pain side of the balance to bring it level again. The gremlins represent this process of neuroadaptation, which is the way that our brain adapts to that increased dopamine firing, for example, downregulating dopamine production, involuting postsynaptic dopamine receptors, all of which is in the pursuit of decreasing dopamine transmission back down to tonic baseline levels of firing. But the thing about those gremlins is they like it on the balance, so they don't get off as soon as we're level. They stay on until it's tilted an equal and opposite amount to the side of pain. That's the come down, the hangover, the blue Monday, or just that moment of wanting one more piece of chocolate, even while I'm still eating the first one, wanting to watch one more TikTok video, even before the first one has ended.